Greetings to all. Welcome to 2022. Omicron is on the run, and away it went. But oops, there goes gravity, and here comes a new variant. Omaha, Corona, Hut 1, Hut 2, nothing infects the Super Bowl, and nothing stops football.
Racism, greed, trauma to brain and spine. And yet, I cannot look away. Heroes are dead. Science has their heads. Oh, is there no escape from here? I need to know. It eats my soul. Nothing stops me and Is this heaven or hell? I can't tell. It's human cockfighting. CTE prayer circles. They blackballed the blackballer. They tried to end racism by stenciling it in the end zone. Billionaire boys using millionaires as toys. It's all immoral, all unethical. Ooh, the witching hour. Nothing stops the NFL. Is this heaven or hell? I can't tell. It's Urban and Snyder and Flores and Gruden, but Kyler, but Kelsey, but Cooper, but Canton. It's cheating and tanking and bounties and banking, but parlays, but face paint, but promo, but pennies.
Here we go. This one's for all the glory. Give it your best, it's all you got. Don't look back. Oh, it's all part of the story. You talk the talk, now walk the walk. Yeah.
When the game's on the line, will you have the guts to make the call? When it's crunch time, will you make us scream, God bless, God bless to God.
From the back of every bar, or the subway, on the streets or in your car, wherever you have found yourself, scream out your battle cry. I'm all in. I'm all in. Fourth and goal, or pin back that you're 30. Time to prove you're a hot shot. Let's attack. Oh, your name is Brandon Staley. Unleash some hell and go for gold. Yeah.
A few words a game. Does your QB have the guts? Will you just punt?
We have lost Billy Gill and Stugotz and Chris Cote. They all ran into another room when they heard Brian Daboll was there. They all sprinted in to just talk to the Giants coach.
I heard Stugotz walking into the other studio saying, "Do you think Brian Daboll likes pretzels?"
Put it on the poll at LeBatardShow. Do you think Brian Daboll likes pretzels? I do think so. Justin Verlander, not once but twice in Philadelphia, gave Philly fans the bird. The bird has had a hell of a run. Just an amazing, majestic run. Ron, how do you give the bird? On what occasions does Ron Magill give the bird? And do you do with the side panels, or you do one naked middle finger just extended by itself?
Yeah, I'm the one naked finger. That side panels thing came up with a bunch of wusses later on in the younger generations. I'm major one finger by itself. It's got to really stand out.
And on what occasion would you use it?
You know, when people just go to extremes, all this political correctness stuff, it's just sometimes we've forgotten how to have fun, guys. So sometimes I just kind of break the mold a little bit. Just say, you know, people who expect this guy to be super straight and super nice, not saying anything bad, and boom. What are you shaking your head about?
Can't even appreciate a person's music without having to hear about who he married and what age they were when he married.
Once you started going down the political correctness path,
cancel
culture was next.
Okay. I really, seriously, I'm really
the
done
angry
with it.
mob.
We've forgotten how to have fun. We've forgotten how to have fun.
Whittingham, put it on the poll. Have we forgotten how to have fun at LeBatard Show? And is it the fault of the political correctness crowd that we have made fun something that's extinct? I want, before we get to Ron Magill, when you speak of fun, I want to understand, Mike, why it is that you're wearing me out, telling me that I just have to start following Ross Chastain and everything going on in racing. We'll get to you in a second, Ron. I just saw a video Mike sent me of a move I've never seen in racing, which is just go faster than everyone else by saying, I don't care if I hit the wall, I'm just going to go much faster than everyone else. Why isn't everyone doing this if all you have to do is rub the wall a couple of times on the last lap?
You know, during lockdown, I became quite the gearhead, and I got super into stock car racing. Well, since then, I've kind of lost touch as the other sports have come back. Yeah, it's not my passion for motorsports is not strong enough to sustain NFL Sundays. I'm sorry.
Wow.
But over the weekend, there was something amazing that happened in stock car racing that may bring me back, if just for a fleeting moment. And that was what Ross Chastain did. He invoked the fifth gear. Now, this is something that's long been talked about. Certainly nothing that you ever see in NASCAR's tightest track. But that's exactly what happened when Ross played himself into playoff positioning by steering directly into the wall on purpose and letting that wall take him where he needed to go, straight into the playoffs. It allowed him to go 15 miles per hour faster than anybody else on the racetrack. This is a video game hack. This is something that if you saw it in Days of Thunder, you would have laughed at, saying, Hollywood came up with that. It's fake. There is a hack in video games that if you just put the pedal to the metal and run right into the wall, you're going as fast as you possibly can, and you let the wall steer you where you need to go. Never in anybody's right mind would you try this on a real NASCAR track because it's incredibly dangerous. Ross Chastain, he laughs in the face of danger. And for 4 full seconds, he let the wall scrape up his car, and he rode it to 5.2 Gs, 50 miles per hour faster than anybody else. In a dramatic end to that race, slams into the back of Brad Keselowski, gets himself into the playoff, and now there's talk about banning this move. Other racers are terrified that this has opened up this can of worms. Joey Logano, Slowy Joey, says there's no place for this in racing. Everybody hates this move. Let me tell you what this move was. This move was ballsy. It was scary. It was something that has no business being on the track. It's dangerous, Maverick. You're dangerous, Ross Chastain, and I like it. I'm just going to circulate the tweet and not actually watch the next race because it's just really funny. There's one car going really fast.
Well, I thought it was like, is it the turbo button in Fast and the Furious? I don't watch those movies, but what is it?
Nos. Yeah, you like hit Nos.
That's what it looked like.
Nos is like.
Ron, they were asking you right here before we got on, and I did not hear what your answer was, what it is that you were for Halloween. You're a very sensual vampire. I've seen that. Is that your move? Do you do that every year, or do you switch it up?
Dan, once I saw that picture of you as a Joker, I said, I'm done. There's nothing I can do. And I just was just nobody. I just answered the door and scared little kids by getting really tall and ugly and scary. That's all.
A lot of people seeing that Joker have been calling me Heath Bar Ledger or Heath Larger. It's a very unflattering depiction of the Joker. Roy, what do you have for Ron Magill here?
Ron, there's a stray cat that's running around my house, my neighbor's house, and the houses behind us, and this little bastard is climbing up on my car. How can I get rid of it?
Oh, man. I wish I had an answer for that, Roy. It's one of these situations that people I hear about complaining all the time, leaving their little footprints and their little hairs all over your nicely waxed, beautiful car.
Bastard.
I know. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. Other than, God, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I saw that there is a spray, like a foul-smelling spray that you can spray on your driveway that would dissuade cats from going onto your driveway. Does that work?
There is a foul-smelling spray, but the problem with that is that it's going to jump on top of your car just to get away from the spray.
Yeah.
You're speechless here. You do not have an answer. You are flummoxed.
I don't know what to tell you to keep the animal off the car. The cats like to get up on cars, but it's like a better viewpoint, kind of like an overview, kind of like a cheetah going up on a termite mound. But the bottom line is, people thought about putting things around the car, but if it has a thing to get up on the car, if it has its mindset to get up on the car, it's going to jump up in the car and get away from everything you sprayed around the bottom of the car. You don't want to spray your car because it's going to hurt your paint.
Ron, I was watching a video of a couple of safari vacation goers in their hotel room. The doors open and an ibex walks in the room, and they're trying to get it to shoo, but obviously ibex's horns are insane, right? So it's like they don't want to agitate it. They just want to kind of get it to shoo. So how do you get rid of an ibex that has entered your hotel room?
First of all, I got to look at that video because ibex are mountainous, huge rams that I don't know if coming anywhere near civilization, unless this is one hand-raised one that people have been feeding, and this thing now has become so accustomed to being fed by tourists that it's starting to go to hotel room. If that's the case with this guy, you don't just try to shoo it. You scream as loud as you can, put up your hands, and you run at it really fast. Generally speaking, it's going to run away. Because
Why wouldn't you just leave the room and go tell the front desk there's an animal in my hotel room?
How are you going to get to the front desk if it's in your front door coming in?
Oh, okay.
No, it's like one of those patio doors that opens out to the wild, right? But the
just dial 0 in your hotel room.
I'm watching this video right now.
Oh my God! I'm running out of that room.
Will gore you.
It's walking through your balcony door. I'm just gone.
It's not going to gore you because the horns curl backwards on an ibex. I don't know what kind of ibex we're looking at here. Which
yeah, they curl back.
But they've got the little bumps on it, like kind of like
weird for her
pleasure.
Listen, if they can run you down, if it decides it's going to ram you, it's going to break your ribs, break your face, it's going to break you up.
Hey, bear.
But generally speaking, the element of surprise works in those types of situations. Okay, this thing's coming in. It's obviously being used to being fed by tourists. This is probably one of those places where they feed the animals to bring them in so people can get better pictures. I think that if you get something like a big couch pillow or something and screaming, come at it, really screaming, I bet it's going to run away. If it doesn't run away, then you need to turn and run as quickly as you can.
Wow. So you really believe offense is the best defense there in that situation?
Yeah, in that situation, yes.
But but hang on. But what if it doesn't? You need offense. You need offense as the best defense to work 100% of the time if you're going to run it in ibex.
No, that stuff you're doing, Cote, sucks. You look like a stupid flying butterfly. You need something more aggressive.
Yeah.
You need to come at it, like really come at it.
Nah, I think I got to get large and make him think I got a lot of things going on here.
Look, think about your little knife under the giraffe thing. More like that, okay?
Please stop making that gesture.
Ibex theater.
At LeBatard Show, put it on the poll, please, Whittingham. Is offense the best defense if there's an ibex in your hotel room?
Just what a weird culture we got right now where your first instinct is just to bring out TikTok and just be like, oh my God, there's an ibex in my room.
I'm glad they
How
did.
did this happen?
Is that the TikTok voice you're doing?
Yeah, the computer voice.
I mean, like I say, those animals are found in very high altitudes and very mountainous regions. This is an animal that's obviously actually been rehabilitated or fed by humans and has just come down out of its natural habitat and is probably somewhat tame. So, this is just another attraction to whatever that facility is.
The horn's so big and sharp.
But also, I mean, I'm watching the video. It seems like hiding under the bed is probably the best move because, like, how is the ibex going to access the bed?
He's not wrong.
Like, it's got giant horns, and so it can't get in there. How's it going to get in there?
Listen, I don't think it's looking for food. It's not looking for anything else. It's just looking for food. I just got this thing, but I got no reception in my freaking office.
Well, I could ride that ibex. What a great horns to use as handles. I picture myself on its back.
Horns. Understand, guys, it's nothing more than an oversized goat. That's what
Whittingham, please put on the poll. An ibex has entered your hotel room. Is the best response to run straight at it screaming, hide under the bed, hide in the closet, dial 0, and let the hotel operator figure it out?
Or film it for TikTok.
I have one other option. I would say to the ibex, "Bae," and scare it away. It would heal. It would kneel and heal when I made that sound.
Ron, I saw a hilarious and delightful video of a hippo at the Cincinnati Zoo eating a whole pumpkin with one bite. What is
I wanted some fruit in my diet.
What is the most powerful bite in the animal kingdom, and is it the hippos
or Dan's?
Crocodile and shark. Great white shark and saltwater crocodile.
Greg Cote, you got a question for Ron McGill?
Ron, what animal looks like Halloween? What zoo animal do you look at and think Halloween whether it's because it's scary just on the face of it or
Aye. A-Y-E.
What is that?
Looks like a Halloween animal. It's a type of lemur. It's a type of persimmon from Madagascar.
Okay.
But it looks like a combination between Yoda and I don't know, whatever.
Wow, you're right.
How often have you been scared by animals, Ron? How often? I know you've told us the story of an elephant attacking your car as the most horrifying. But how often do you feel fear of animals?
I don't feel fear of them unless I'm surprised by them. It's not like I see something in the distance. I see I was on foot the first time I saw a tiger in the wild, and the tiger was literally maybe 40 feet in front of me, staring at me. I wasn't afraid. I was kind of prepared, but I get afraid, like with that elephant situation, is our vehicle, the starter wouldn't start, and the vehicle couldn't start, so the elephant came up and tried to tip over the vehicle, and I was thinking we were going to die. And that hippo that came out of the water after us, like a freaking killer whale in the Nile in Uganda, I thought we were going to die then. So I was just afraid of dying, not necessarily afraid of the animal itself. I was just afraid of dying.
Weren't you next to a wild gorilla once, and you claimed that you were excited because of the whole?
But I wasn't afraid. That was the coolest thing ever, man.
Because of the whole moments that take your breath away thing that you always say.
Yeah. But I wasn't afraid at that time. That gorilla's a mountain gorilla in Rwanda. It came and sat right next to me because you're not supposed to move. You're supposed to keep a 15-foot distance. But if they come to you, you don't move. So you just put your head down. So I just put my head down. I'm sitting down like in the fetal position. This thing sat next to me, and it took its lips and it grabbed my earlobe like this and just tugged on it with its lips. And I felt its breath kind of going.
And you weren't terrified.
No, I was not. I was just like, it was so freaking exciting. Brother, I tell you, I never felt more alive than at that moment.
Can you tell us the hippo story, the details that led to it? Because people are always surprised at how fast hippos are. They don't swim. They go to the bottom of the ground and then propel themselves up with leg strength at an alarming speed.
Exactly. And what I was doing, I was photographing a hippo on the Nile River in Uganda. And I was in a dugout canoe, but it had a little motor behind it. And I was trying to get a picture of the hippo between me and the coastline there. I want to get this nice backdrop there. And I'm filming it. Hippos usually go through several steps. The first thing they do is they kind of raise their body as a threat. Then they take their head out of the water as a threat. Then they kind of, step 3 is opening their mouth as a threat. And step 4 would be coming right at you. Well, this hippo skipped steps 2 to 4 and just all of a sudden just lunged out of the water like a killer whale after us. And if I didn't have the guide on the motor, that thing was literally porpoising out of the water, coming after us to kill us in the boat. And we just got away. That was just one of those things where I made the mistake of assuming that it was going to go through all the steps that hippos normally go through. But, that's the one thing a lesson I should have taught myself is that the only thing that you can predict about an animal is that it's unpredictable.
Which animal has the weakest bite?
Jeez, I don't know. God bless. I have no idea which animal has the weakest bite. Probably some kind of bird.
Ron, you've been all over the world in the name of animal conservation. some countries are very welcoming and malleable to your efforts. Some are very resistant. Can you give me the top most cooperative countries when it comes to that, and the ones that give you the most resistance?
Australia is very conservation minded. They're very protective of their native animals. It's funny because they kill kangaroos because they become so numerous. But the bottom line is their wild animals are protected. They're national treasures. Like, nobody can own a koala outside of Australia. Every koala in the world belongs to Australia. On the flip side, you have a lot of Asian countries that, because of cultural beliefs, because of markets that they sell these animals in, that the laws are not quite as strict there. And when there are laws, they aren't very strongly enforced. So I think a lot of the Asian countries are having a harder time understanding the importance of protecting their wildlife, whereas you got places like Australia that do an incredible job.
Ron, always good catching up with you. Thank you for always informing the audience. A reminder that Ron has done this, one of our most popular segments, if not our most popular segment, for many, many years for free. And all that we ask is, if you're interested in getting help to the animals in a way that has the least bureaucracy in it, where Ron is just helping the animals directly, his endowment is easily findable on the internet. Any good stories lately from our listeners? I know every week you have money coming in because people really want to endorse what it is that you're doing, because your care of the animals is extraordinary.
Well, I'll tell you, Dan, I just get wonderful letters every week. I get wonderful letters and from people like all over the country. And I actually got a letter from somebody in England the other day who listens to the show, who just said, sent a very nice check and was very complimentary. So I can't say how much. I mean, it's hard for me to express the amount of gratitude I have for these incredible listeners of this show.
Well, one of the things you're doing to express that gratitude, though, is at Moss Miami, and tickets are available now at mosslebatard.com. Usually, Ron, it's very expensive, and you had retired. Your Sex and the Animals presentation had been retired, and it's expensive. But for $40, people get a bunch of music, art, they'll get to spend time with us, and you're unretiring your Sex and the Animals presentation. What are the people who are going to go to mosslebatard.com and buying tickets for $40 going to get with that presentation that's getting unretired? You're rusty, right?
But I'm fine tuning it. I'm really gonna fine tune it. And Dan, all I can say is, do not bring your children to this. Okay.
Okay.
Do not bring your children.
Baby.
This is not a children's event. We're talking about, depending on the size of the screen, you're going to see 12-foot penises. You're going to see things like you've never seen before in your life. It's going to be very humbling for the guys in the audience. So drink up. It'll be very inspiring for the ladies in the audience. It'll be something that you're going to see things that you guys have either thought about doing or have done, but never wanted to tell anybody because you thought it was crazy. And you're going to realize it's not crazy. It's very natural, because nobody does it better than the animals do it, brother.
Put it on the advertising poster. You're going to see 12-foot penises. December 10th, Wynwood Marketplace. Thank you, Ron. Good talking to you, sir. Always good catching up with you.
Take care, guys.
Amin, I wanted to get into some basketball stuff with you here before the end of the hour, because Kawhi Leonard is now going to – you mentioned the Clippers as being better than the Lakers in any incarnation, trading for just about anybody. And Kawhi Leonard has now missed 4 games, and he's going to miss at least the next 3 games. Before we get to Mike Schur and the stat of the day, can you tell me what's happening there with the Clippers and with Kawhi's body? Because it seems like he hasn't been right physically since the last couple of years in San Antonio.
He hasn't. I don't know how many people remember that championship run, but against Philly, Game 7, he was getting 0 lift. He was doing everything on one leg, which again, in retrospect, puts what he did in that conference semis, the conference finals, and the finals in even a higher kind of esteem. Wow, this guy did it all on one leg. But he's been bad, and there have been people behind the scenes who said, yeah, his knees are not getting better. This is a deteriorating product that we see in front of us. And so he tore his ACL in the playoffs in 2021. It was a partial tear. It wasn't a full tear. They didn't tell us. They kept calling him day-to-day and questionable every game, even though they knew what it was. He gets a surgery, and then, for ACL surgeries, we're usually looking at 9 to 12 months recovery. So he misses the entirety of last year, so he should be good as new. And here we are with issues once again. Go back, Dan, to his year in Toronto when they did the load management thing and people got upset. Oh, how could they, making a mockery. But what Toronto never really divulged was, we're not doing this because we're just resting him for rest's sake. We're doing this because his knee is terrible. He has bad knees. We're looking at it right now, Dan, and I'm not encouraged at all that this guy missed an entire year, and already he was coming off the bench. He was checking in the second quarter of that Laker game, remember, to start the year, and now he's missing games, and he's going to miss this road trip. That's scary stuff if you're a Clipper fan. And if you're Steve Ballmer, at least from a salary cap standpoint, you gave this guy the Brinks truck. 5 years. 5 years of a guy that's not going to be on the floor full time. It doesn't look like at any point for the rest of his career.
It feels like they're finished if his body is in that kind of deterioration where he's going to miss at least 3 games, and he's been resting. This seems chronic. Well,
this is the part where you say, I hope having Paul George, remember we talked about, it was a local hour, I believe, but the middle innings guys, the guys that can eat up an 82-game season. Paul George is that kind of guy. He can absolutely carry a team. And you say, we'll get Kawhi in here and there, and we hope when we get to April, May, and June, he's got enough left in the tank to be transcendent enough times for us to win a championship. But Dan, this is why I was shocked before the season started when I saw the Vegas odds and the Clippers sat atop this whole thing and say, oh, they're going to win the title. I'm like, in what universe? They barely play with one another.
Mike Schur is there. I am thrilled to see his face. I hope he's feeling better than he sounded yesterday. Welcome back, Mike Schur. How are your stats today? Do you have one set? Because as much as you complained about we're working you too much, you clearly missed it. You admitted yesterday that you missed it, and you came with multiple stats because you haven't had a place to safely put your stats recently in a way that felt fulfilling to you.
I missed the stats. What I don't miss is I wake up, I decide to play hurt, I show up on your little Zoom here with a cold, and what happens? You guys immediately make fun of my cold, and you make fun of it again the next day. This is what I don't like. This is why what I said to John Skipper was that what I want is respect more than anything. More than money, more than a title bump. What I want is respect, and so far, I don't feel a lot of respect coming back at me from your little show.
Well, you say that as you call us a little show, and here are some comments directed at you, and they're not naming you by name, but all the Nazis will come back to Twitter. LOL. This show has become even more of a joke. I miss the old show. Nobody cares about this guy. We want Dan, Stu, Billy, Mike, Chris, Roy's takes.
He's that guy.
I should not have written that. I apologize. That was just me working out my frustrations on the show.
Let's play our short stat of the day music.
Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, it is the start of the day.
Did any of you know, or have you seen this before, that Greg Cote just lip synced the entire Stat of the Day song right into camera? Did anyone see that except me?
Thanks, Mike.
The whole thing.
Thank you.
Including Poppy's like tremulous laugh at the end.
Nobody's a bigger fan. Nobody's a bigger fan of Poppy.
Do you have a Back in My Day today?
You know, I don't today. It's on the first Monday of every month. If it falls on the first, I don't consider it a Tuesday. And so no, but next week maybe.
What?
Yeah, next week. The first, if the first day of the month is a Tuesday, it's almost like a personal holiday. Is the way I think of it. It's not a Tuesday per se.
Plus, it's the day after. It's the day after Halloween. You know.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It is a 5 Tuesday month, so we can't expect one at the end of the month either.
Right. That's correct. Yeah.
He's gonna get some holiday week, so.
Yeah, that's true. I'm ODing on Almond Joy right now, so forgive me,
your brother.
Yeah.
You're ODing
Folks.
on Almond Joy?
Oh my God.
Almond
the best.
Joy?
The best.
No, it's not.
Billy thinks it's the worst, does he not? Unfortunately, he's off talking to Brian Dayball, who I imagine enjoys himself.
You know he does.
No. It's that, Bounds, and York. Those are the three worst candies that you can get on Halloween.
Yeah, not a big York fan.
Peppermint patties.
That's right.
What's the difference between a Mounds and an Almond Joy? It's the same packaging. It's got the coconut.
Oh, for God's sake.
Wait,
Almond Joys have nuts, Mounds don't.
Mounds don't have
it's in the jingle.
It's the advertisement.
It's
Literally, the
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
jingle for those two products.
Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't.
Wait, where are you guys
It was
watching
the whole-
Almond Joy commercials?
In our childhood. My
25
childhood
years.
is replete
Oh my
with
God.
Almond Joy commercials.
They are not still running Almond Joy commercials.
They are, but they're not doing that music anymore.
20 CB.
That's like saying which paper towel is the quicker picker upper. Does anyone know?
What,
That's a good question.
what is the stat of the day?
Ronnie James.
All right, here's the stat of the day. You ready? It's a Brooklyn Nets twofer. I got two Brooklyn Nets stats for you. Going into last night, when they unfortunately won, they beat the Pacers. Durant had scored 192 points in the team's first 6 games. Kyrie had 183. The last teammates to each score 180 points in their team's first 6 games were Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain for the 69-70 Lakers. And yet, the Nets were 1-5 in
It's
those
amazing.
6 games.
That is a great stat. I don't think Jerry West and Chamberlain started 1-5 when they went crazy in those
I don't think
games.
they did either. That was courtesy of OptaStats, as is this one. On October 27th, Durant and Kyrie both scored 35 points in the same game for the 4th time. It was the 4th time that each of them had scored 35 points in the same game, and they are 0-4 in those games. And their 4 losses in games in which they both scored at least 35 points are the most by any pair of teammates in NBA history. They've only played 50 games with each other, and 4 times they scored 35 points each and lost, which is the most times that's ever happened by any pair of teammates ever.
I mean, if I had told you, and I didn't give you any more information, I just told you Kyrie and Durant were playing and scoring like that in games, you would have told me their record was what?
0-6. Did I do the math wrong there?
You got to play the game better.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate your contributions to the program. Look how delighted Mike Schur. That is not nearly as funny as you think it is, Mike Schur. That me and Amin just staring at each other and you seeing the disappointment flash across my face because he checkmated me.
Do you? Real quick question: does anyone know which kind of trucks are built Ford tough?
See you later, Mike. We'll talk
Chevy.
to you. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Or tomorrow.
Like a
Tomorrow,
rock.
excuse me. We're going to talk to you tomorrow.
Like a rock.
Thank you. I appreciate your singing. Please don't ever do it again. We were all jarred around here that Bryan Harsin, the Auburn coach, has only been there long enough to go 9-12. Auburn now owes, since 2020, him and Gus Malzahn buyouts in the total of $37 million. Whittingham, you saw Jimbo Fisher's buyout details.
It's insane because I would presume that Gus Malzahn, while they did at one point owe him that level of buyout, that there's offset language in that, and because he's now the UCF coach, they're probably not paying as much. But Jimbo Fisher's buyout does not have offset language, meaning if they fire him, they have to pay the full amount of the buyout for as long as his contract lasts, which I believe is until 2029. And so even if he gets fired, gets another job, Texas A&M still has to pay him. And so if they fired him at the end of this year, they owe him $85.9 million. If they fire him at the end of next year, it costs $76.8 million. If they fire him at the end of 2024, it costs them $67.5 million. If they fire him at the end of 2025, it costs them $58 million. Then $48, then $39, then $29, then $19 million. In 2029, if they fire Jimbo Fisher, they would still have to pay him $19 million. And that is non-negotiable. They have to pay this.
The same is true of Kirk Ferentz. If they fire him, I shouldn't say the same is true because it's half as much, but it's $42 million, and he's signed through 2029. And the thing I wanted to ask the group is this the new normal now that money is coming into the game as aggressively as it is with television dollars? Harsin, you get a year and a half. You get 9 and 12 and get out of here. We are not waiting around for rebuilds. We're not waiting around for culture changes. It's the SEC. We can't fall this far behind Alabama. We are now in the new normal of you get 21 games or you're out of here. We'll eat the buyout. The money's too big, and your buyout's not so big that it's going to keep us from wanting to be a major player in this game in the SEC, because there's a lot of other stuff here other than the 9 and 12.
Yeah, Harsin was the subject of a lot of rumors and innuendo. There was rumors of an alleged affair with someone on the staff that prompted an investigation. A lot of recruits said that they didn't like Coach Harsin's mindset. There was a lot of talent that were leaving that program because of what they claimed was Bryan Harsin's
coaches too, or executives too.
Yeah, the AD was a sitting duck this year, mutually parting of ways. I know from the Miami AD search that AD was trying to get out of there. Apparently, Auburn has a very toxic booster culture, and this is one of the byproducts that's kind of overlooked when you talk about conference expansion. When you bring in Oklahoma and you bring in Texas, and we're not even there yet, there are going to be years where elite programs, or programs that are not too far removed from NCAA titles and BCF championships and college football playoff appearances, they're going to be having 4-loss seasons. And that's just flatly not going to fly in certain places. And I'm very curious to see how programs respond to that. You saw Tennessee, it took them 20 years, more than that, to get back to this level where they have a gigantic game against the number one team in the country. It's 1 versus 2, and they have a Heisman candidate at quarterback. Look at how many coaches have come through there. You're only going to be expediting those timelines now when you have these mega conferences, because good luck telling, I know Texas has had years like this, but you're going to have a situation where Auburn's and Texas and Oklahoma's, it's going to be a struggle to get to 6 wins because they're going to be beating up on each other. You're going to see a lot more turnover when it comes to head coaching.
If you have this amount of money involved, you have to change the pressure cooker, do you not? You have to make it so that the professionalization of this position is results, give them to me immediately or get out of here. I'll find somebody who will.
Especially in that division where everyone in the conference makes a ton of money, and to the point where Mississippi State can be competitive, have identities. Arkansas has a genuine identity. It's from the 1970s, but an identity it remains. But Lane Kiffin's the coach of Ole Miss. Mike Leach is the coach of Mississippi State. It's very easy to fall behind, and fall behind quickly in that conference. And you see these schools with these huge expectations not abiding it. And so the Bryan Harsin thing was sort of out there. I was listening to the Shutdown Fullcast, and they're like, yeah, isn't it going to be funny when they fire Bryan Harsin? And it sort of, for me, left the feeling, oh, he's been there for 2 or 3 years, and it hasn't worked out. This feeling was existing after 1 season. And maybe he is just a disaster, and there's a reason why they're doing this, and it's worth getting off it now. But I couldn't believe how sort of accepted it was that this guy, who was a reasonable success at, I believe, Boise State, came in, and it's like, get him the hell out of here. It's been a year. Leave. Let's find whatever is going to be our next model towards winning. The college football coaching cycle, it's going to produce $203 million worth of buyouts every year.
It's staggering how many people get fired for not doing their job, right? Like, from what I'm
not around here.
What I'm hearing about this guy is that everything is, it's not because, hey, the team's not winning. That's not a guy who's getting fired because the team's not winning. That obviously doesn't help.
If they're winning, it would have been fine.
Yeah, right. It's
but all the other stuff. It's not even winning. Just winning a little more. So you're saying if the Nets were 5-2,
Yeah, that's my Scoop B take on all of this. Yeah, the problem with Bryan Harsin in Auburn was he's not a culture fit. His mentality for a program like Auburn didn't work, and there's all sorts of ugly, nasty things that you can peel layers back on, but winning. It's winning, and these boosters, especially there, which is a really difficult booster situation, they're engaged but almost too engaged. You're going to see a lot more of this, man. I'm sure it's very confusing to fan bases like Texas A&M, which I believe has the largest alumni base in the country. They've thrown and dedicated more resources behind that football program than anyone else in the country. It is flabbergasting how you take all those factors, a packed house of 107,000 people, one of the best college game day atmospheres there is, and they're like 3-4. Resources do not guarantee you success in that sport. Look how long it took programs like Tennessee, who never had a shortage of resources, to get back on top of the mountain. It's honestly a testament to the ones that are able to stay there. And Nick Saban is just incredible because there are so few coaches that have won national titles.
But you look at the history of Fisher, and outside of Jameis Winston, like Josh Heupel can do things with quarterbacks. That's I thought I saw that Hooker kid played some last year, right? And didn't look very good to me, and now looks totally different. Jimbo Fisher's quarterbacks have all been, like, he parlayed one of the best college quarterbacks I've ever seen, and possibly the best young college quarterback I have ever seen, Jameis Winston, into this contract that allows him to be somebody who's a $90 million man when he cannot make quarterbacks. They're all awful. Like, it doesn't even matter how many 5-star recruits he has all over the field. Every last one of his quarterbacks, he's not making them any better. He is skating on that.
Yeah, really coasting on the reputation that Jameis Winston helped build. Now, he obviously had something to do with Winston being on that roster, but his offense is outdated, and it hasn't worked, and it hasn't elevated these very talented quarterbacks that he has on his roster. That is an astronomical buyout.
It's crazy.
When you talk about north of $80 million, even for a school like Texas A&M, they may just do it to show their power. And who knows what kind of ramifications that might have in college football, because you'll have all these recruits leaving. It is a strange new world, and it's only going to get wackier now with these mega conferences because expectations are not going to recalibrate.
Right.
They're not.
It's an obscenity. And the thing is, there's no oversight anymore. The NCAA is weaker than it's ever been. College presidents apparently don't want to get involved. They don't care about these buyouts, evidently. Do fans care about the buyouts? Fans don't care. The athletic director has, he's not automatically fired. If Harsin is fired after a season and a half and he's got a huge buyout, there's no accountability. It's crazy.
I mean, the Auburn AD did lose his job because I think pretty clearly he got this hire wrong. I would also say, as far as accelerated timelines, Mike mentions the super conferences. I also think NIL and the capacity to microwave good teams is a huge part of this as well. Tennessee and Josh Heupel did this very quickly. Like, he came in, brings a competent offensive system, and they become a good team very quickly. I think the capacity to turn over rosters, bring in players in the transfer portal, get NIL deals, it accelerates the timeline from, I think most college coaches were given the benefit of the doubt over 4 years, maybe a decade ago. Now, if you don't show signs of progress after 1, maybe 2, unless you have a cult of personality that allows you to sort of offer hope to these boosters and figure out how to work the political game, you can be on the hot seat very quickly because there's an expectation now that a coach can completely turn things around.
It does allow for very wild swings. We saw Mel Tucker now get what in retrospect seems like a bad contract built off of one transfer portal and being able to really revamp that roster. You would assume, considering the difference from year 1 to year 2 for Josh Heupel, that they did crazy amounts of work in the transfer portal. They actually lost more players than they gained. And I think that fan bases also need to embrace the portal both ways, too. There's a lot of talk locally about it. A game breaker like Jalen Knighton entering the portal. Sometimes, especially with these culture-driven head coaches, it's actually a blessing in disguise. Yes, it's a talent. Yes, it's going to stink if you lose them, especially to a rival. But get these players out because the next ones come in. And that's the hope for places like Auburn and Texas A&M, Miami, or USC, what USC is doing now. You're going to see teams like USC did it right. In retrospect, getting rid of Clay Helton and being able to make a move over the course of a year and get those foundations in place and get a Lincoln Riley, you're going to see coaches fired a lot earlier. You're going to see a lot of copycat action in that regard.
Mike, when you were kind of diagnosing Texas A&M, I couldn't help but imagine you doing it in the pep rally voice. So could you give me the same kind of thing about them being 3 and 4 and all that?
Well, give him a second. I'll filibuster for you in the interim. Whittingham mentioned the political
This head
game.
coach has been good for nothing. Nanny Muggins, cotton-headed. What other names? My regret is deep, and I mean deep. Gig 'em. But our pockets are deep, and I mean deep. Did you guys see the Halloween march that they had?
Oh, so creepy. So unbelievable.
Anytime you got dudes dressed in white with tiki torches, it's just a bad scene, and I won't feel welcome over there. You add the Halloween jack-o'-lanterns to the mix. I understand how that goes. I'm in a group chat that is totally dedicated to all the weird things of Texas A&M.
How many group chats are you in?
I'm in my Texas A&M group chat. It's called College Station.
You're in a chicken fingers, chicken parm, and mozzarella sticks.
Yeah, mozzarella sticks. Yeah, chicken parm. No, not yet. Invite me though. I love having a organization within my group chats. College Station, only Jimbo, only Texas A&M, and occasional in-state rivals, and how it affects that.
Whittingham, you mentioned the political game, and it just made me think of something I've been wanting to talk about for a couple of weeks. You have to. I will speak directly to the audience, and I will speak to you guys, and I'm sure that we are all in consensus on this. Stop texting me political people I don't know. Just stop. You're not going to change my mind, anybody else's mind, because all of a sudden I know your name on my text. You're just bothering me. Please, I don't know how you got my number. Lose my number. Do not do that. This is not something that anyone in our audience can be enjoying.
Oh, Dan, au contraire. Our audience is having a hoot. You know what they're doing? They're texting back. Have you heard of Cinephobe? And they type out the whole Cinephobe spiel. I swear to God.
Spend all night out in Venice, then make castles in the sand. Santa Monica's calling, but I'm here to cover the Rams. I'll stay in and avoid chateaus. If I booze, then I'm on Skid Row. Just one drink to begin, not like that's a big sin. Just one beer, then we're gonna to the Super Bowl.
Now, Mike, you know we're here to cover the big game. It's a time to be professional and avoid all the temptations the City of Angels may have to offer. Ain't that right, Jess and Kate?
That's right. We're just here to ask quirky questions to grown men wearing their full uniforms without pads in a convention hall.
Oh my God, is that George Clooney? It is!
Baby, one scotch at the Roxy.
Come on now!
One shot at whiskey a go-go.
There we go! Now we're drinking to run and avoid temptations, but a job to do. Professionals with a drink or two. Just a thin bowl of gin, and then I'll be locked in. After gin, then we're gonna go to the Super Bowl. To the Super Bowl.
Wait a minute, it's the Walk of Fame. So much to see instead of the big game. And the traffic is bad on La Brea. So come on, join me in poppin' tequila.
Get it! I'm just here to drink and find Lewis Hamilton.
Hey guys, you gonna shotgun a beer or what?
I don't feel so good. I am genuinely fucked up right now.
showtime, buddy. Racism, greed, trauma to brain and spine. And yet, I cannot look away. Heroes are dead. Science has their heads. Oh, is there no escape from here? I need to know. It eats my soul. Nothing stops me and is this heaven or hell? I can't tell. It's human cockfighting. CTE prayer circles. They blackballed the black baller. They tried to end racism by stenciling it in the end zone. Billionaire boys using millionaires as toys. It's all immoral, all unethical. Ooh, the witching hour. Nothing stops the NFL. Is this heaven or hell? I can't tell. It's Urban and Snyder and Flores and Gruden, but Kyler, but Kelsey, but Cooper, but Canton. It's cheating and tanking and bounties and banking, but parlays, but face paint, but promo, but weddings.
That is why, with every fiber of our being, we love the playoffs.
When the best play, trenches face to face, sacrifice life and limb for the Lombardi. If there's a way, Stafford turns it all around. It would have to be LA, it would have to be McVay. What'd you say? Tom Brady, always down. Could he turn it all around now? Turn it all around now. Wipes the blood from his lip, holy shit, he's gonna do it all again, do it all again. It's time for the playoffs, so grab a beer, I hope it's Miller Lite. It's time for the playoffs, the playoffs. It's time for the good stuff, where every game comes down to guys who kick. It's time for the playoffs, the playoffs, the playoffs.
Ah, the playoffs. Hot goalies, playoff beards, and Lord Stanley.
No, Roy, I'm not talking about ice hockey. I'm talking about the NFL playoffs, the gridiron, winner go home, the ultimate postseason tournament. Here, let me show you. Big Ben's last game, Kyler's feeling shame, upsets in Green Bay and in Tennessee. There's just no way Prescott's going to the ground. He slid 1 second too late, and they don't have a timeout. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Arrowhead, become personal playgrounds. Too much time, 13 ticks. Holy shit, he's gonna do it all again, do it all again. It's time for the playoffs, so grab a beer. I hope it's Miller Lite. It's time for the playoffs, the playoffs. It's time for the good
Playoffs sometimes mean having to say goodbye. Even if you're not ready. Careers wind to an end. Mantles taken. Last chapter's written. But stars emerge to write new, exciting stories. For every door that closes, a new one opens. For every immunized quarterback that falls short, there's a young hotshot ready to take his place. There's nothing quite like
Playoffs, the playoffs.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I'm talking about the greatest of all time. He can turn it around in just one play. You can watch it all happen in the playoffs. The playoffs, it's the playoffs. Never is afraid. I've seen his face. The chosen. I'm talking about Evan McPherson. It's time for the playoffs. It's the playoffs, the playoffs, it's the playoffs.
Evan McPherson? The GOAT? He's a kicker. I mean, Tom Brady's bed's still warm.
Greg, I have a question for you. It's Billy, by the way. Hey.
Hey, Billy. How you doing?
Let me ask you, because yesterday was Halloween, as you may or may not know.
I do know that.
Well, what did you do? How did you celebrate? Because you have your grandbaby. You have Jumpin' Charlie, which may or may not still be away for a bit.
Yeah, Jumpin' Charlie's still in boot camp for another couple of weeks.
Thank you for your service.
I did my traditional 3 pumpkins, my trio of pumpkins that I put on the roof, lit them up with candles. The beautiful, the classic Home Alone face, the funny, goofy pumpkin, and then the scary pumpkin.
I feel like it should be on the porch. Putting something on fire on top of your roof.
It's unnecessary.
It's a dangerous game, yeah. Just like a risk that's not necessary.
You have to picture it. It is majestic. The trick-or-treaters are coming up my walkway. They glance up and they do a double take. Oh, my God, because these 3 glowing orange pumpkins are looking down at the trick-or-treaters as they walk.
I have a question for you, because I got for my daughter this year a pumpkin. We weren't going to carve it because she's just 1. So we had her like paint it with like finger paint and stuff like that. But it wasn't like perfectly balanced. It was like a pumpkin that rolled slightly.
Yeah.
So how do you find the perfect pumpkin to do that? Because the last thing I would think you'd want is a pumpkin with a candle inside to fall off and hit a kid.
He puts a little piece of plywood up on the roof to like kind of.
It's a heady play.
More flammable things.
I used to in the past. Christopher didn't bring Graceland by last night to go trick
Or you didn't go see her
in our neighborhood, so he didn't see. He didn't see the roof.
Why should he bring her to you?
Zagaki.
I mean,
well, because we're the anchor of the neighborhood.
No one says that.
Well, they have the pumpkins on the roof.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we're
You're a staple. You need to be there.
We're a corner lot, which is a little more responsibility on a major holiday.
I carved a pumpkin.
Okay.
Why can't my daughter be at our house? Like, why can't you come to her? See, this thing, Dan, we've done this with
It's
Christmas.
a real wrestling match.
That's what
with
I'm
you two.
saying.
He won't let you be the center of your own family.
Thank you.
He wants
That's
to be
not true.
He wants to be the centerpiece of the Cotes. He's giving it away reluctantly.
He's the Rock.
Yeah, he has a
mean,
quarter lot.
Yeah,
A quarter lot. Yeah.
Right.
He's
Corner
a
lot.
patriarch.
Yeah.
The
Thank you.
patriarch.
Thank you, Amin. Thank you.
Why are you trying to wrest the power? Why are you trying to usurp
I
him?
want to live my life too. Why can't I have my Halloween with my daughter? So every Halloween, every holiday, I got to go over to my parents' house, my in-laws' house. Like, why can't they come to me?
Here's the way to play it yesterday, okay? The 3 of you come over before dark even. My granddaughter did beautiful in her princess outfit, whatever she was. Aladdin?
Well, what
I don't know
was
what
she?
she was.
She was Aladdin?
I don't know.
It
What
was
was
Jasmine.
Jasmine. Princess Jasmine.
Yeah.
So you bring her over beforehand, a little pre thing, and then you go back to your hood and go trick or
Why
treating.
can't you come over our house and walk around the neighborhood with
Well,
her?
because we have trick or treaters rapping on our door.
He has responsibilities, though.
Put candy outside.
We don't do that.
Corner lot.
Come
It's-
on.
Greg, do you not do just put a bowl of
No.
candy on a table outside your house? You're having these people come up and ring your doorbell.
Yeah.
You
Damn
open the
right.
door. You ask questions.
He doesn't
What
answer
are you
the
supposed
door.
to be in all
My
that
mom does
No,
that.
I mean, if you just leave the
listen.
candy outside, it goes
Chaos.
to one kid.
I
Yeah.
oversee the process.
Yeah.
My
Stugotz
wife does
thinks
do the
all
dirty work.
kids are Stugotz.
No. Have you guys
I
seen the
dumped that
video?
whole bowl in my bag.
Have you
I
guys
mean,
seen the video that's been going around on Twitter and like Instagrams on the internet that's now? Whereas a little kid, right? He looks, he stares right into the Ring camera. He sees the camera. He grabs the bowl, defiantly pours the entire bowl into his bag. Then he turns one more time to the Ring camera. The kid could not be more than 7 or 8 years old. Turns defiantly back to the Ring camera and just gives it a middle finger and walks away.
Whoa!
That's a
Proud of
thing.
that kid. I mean,
You can't trust trick-or-treaters.
I thought it was staged.
Really?
Watching
Stage,
it, yeah.
stage social media.
Why
event.
would you be proud of that kid?
So
People because
you do.
people
I
like,
mean,
oh, this is gonna
it's
go
what you
viral.
do.
So the thing I talked about earlier about how reporters don't give a shit about going viral on Instagram, unfortunately, the rest of the country apparently
Yeah.
really does.
TikTok Nation.
Well, why would you want your kid to be famous for that?
Because my kid is so funny. What about it? Oh, like people do this all the time.
Yeah.
I am a bit alarmed by Greg Cote's stubbornness, being so stubborn that you didn't end up seeing your granddaughter trick-or-treating with her. You only saw photos of her on one
Yeah.
of a Halloween old enough. How old is your daughter, Chris? Because
4.
Okay, so
You
this
didn't see your 4-year-old granddaughter trick or
No, it
treating?
was sad.
Why'd Chris do that to you?
terrible job by
know.
Chris. Yeah. Yep.
You know,
Really?
a little drive-by would have been nice.
You
You know.
could do the same drive.
I'm
a
giving
quarter
out
lot.
candy at my house.
I have a 4-year-old who we don't want to have out all night. You want me driving around the whole town? Like, you come make a little effort for her.
The
It's not
go-
even for me.
The go-to would have been for you all to come by at like 6, hang for 20 minutes.
You mentioned this.
And,
Have
leave
a
at
beer.
6:30.
Right.
How
Yeah.
far is the drive? Just
Like 15 minutes.
yeah, so
And then you're home by the time dusk
6:35.
falls.
Mhm.
And then Jasmine goes trick-or-treating.
Dad,
Oh, it's
once
6 o'clock already.
Once kids reach a certain age, they want to go with friends and stuff. Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't have an obligation of let me drive over here and then drive over here and then that's not how it
Time to
works.
start a new anchor, a new family tradition.
I'm the anchor now.
in Chris's neighborhood.
Anchorman.
Yeah,
That's
He's
fine.
right.
your granddaughter wants to have these memories in her own neighborhood.
Wow.
When Greg was trick-or-treating as a hobo, as a kid, he carried around a pillowcase. And you
Bindle.
wouldn't believe how much candy you can get in an empty pillowcase.
Riveting story.
Yeah.
But you had great memories in your own neighborhood. And Chris just
I bet
wants
your
to-
grandparents walked around
did.
around with you
Yeah,
when that
they
was going
did.
on. Yeah.
Mike
Yeah.
Bryan evidently has a better family structure and a less selfish grandfather than you because Mike Ryan was embarrassed by his father yesterday.
Oh, no. My dad is just as selfish as you are.
Greg's not
Thank you.
selfish.
Right.
No.
But I've had arguments with my dad where I've had to let him know we've dropped a new pin. Anchor's my home. It's not yours.
Right.
Like you're just my family. I only have like one blood relative in town. It's my dad.
Right.
We're not the center of the universe. You're gonna have to come on into the bigger group. So my house was the launch pad for our family and our extended family, and we would go. I have a good neighborhood for Halloween,
Yep.
which is also an important part of this.
Damn
too,
right it is.
because I'm sure when Chris was growing up, your neighborhood was great, but generations move out.
He still has
Kids-
the 3 pumpkins.
But there are less kids in my parents' neighborhood than there were when I was a kid.
I have
That's true.
I have a neighborhood with a lot of kids, so we did like a big group thing. My daughter was Tinkerbell, and we expanded a universe out from that. Everybody had something to do with Peter Pan. My dad was given the assignment: you wear this top hat and these long PJs, you'll slot right in. My dad, knowing how frugal he is, I'll just say he's cheap. He did not want to buy something for one-time use, and he was kind of hinting that we would have to buy it for him because he didn't want to go
It's a
out.
fair request.
That's a nice thing.
You're making him come all. Hey, making him come all the way over there. Now you're making him dress
Yeah.
the way you want him dressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you provide those clothes.
They're allowing him to participate with his granddaughter. And
No.
have, I'm not saying
Allowing.
allowing.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Guys, it's just an effort thing because it was explained to my dad several times over. He would ask loose questions about the costume. I would buy the costume for my dad.
Why didn't you?
If he just asked me to.
What
but instead he
character-
plays
That's
this
not how he
bullshit
does it,
game
though.
Beg
Yeah.
where he
to.
asks a million
Not
different
nice.
questions and I
Shouldn't
know where
have
it's
to
headed.
ask.
Yeah.
He just wants me to assume I have to buy it, so we'll see how this goes. He comes over in his regular clothes, and all of a sudden he's upset because we're taking all group photos. I'm like, Dan, stand off to the side. This is
Wow.
a Peter Pan
Whoa.
thing only.
Bad
And my
move.
dad's like, well, give me a costume then.
Yeah.
And I've been, subject of a lot of grit of death punishment, so I have a lot of costumes in my home. And I was actually hoping for this exact scenario.
Seems
My
like a
dad to be
setup.
too lazy. It was. I used my dad's own ego against him because I knew this scenario would play out. where he'd come over,
The wrestling singlet.
upset that he didn't have a costume. And so I have Gumby from A Grid of Death. I have that dude from The Fifth Element, the Chris Tucker costume. I'm like, that's plenty embarrassing. But in my home, I have a cat suit of Randy Orton, where it's Randy Orton all tatted up with the wrestling tights and a championship belt. And so I gave that to him. No.
Wait, but that was never a punishment. You just have that.
I had I just had that. No, that wasn't A Grid of Death. I just had
wardrobe,
that.
yes.
But where I get my
Shirtless
vanity,
muscles.
I get my vanity from my dad, and so my dad was feeling himself in this costume. But I got to show you a photo. I got to show you, like, if it was exclusive super follower content, but this was such a great costume because it just looked like there was a man in his underwear walking around people's neighborhoods. He wasn't aware of it.
You had to pay to see this?
He wasn't aware of it, but people were laughing hysterically as he walked by, and it would be so jarring because I had friends that were over in the kitchen, like eating some pizza that we had laid out, and my dad would be in the backyard just walking by himself, and they thought there was an intruder in my backyard, a naked man. My dad, at the end of the night, my dad goes, "Hey, I'm just gonna take this home and wash it." Yeah. I'm like, "Huh?"
Oh, he loved it.
You're gonna what? No, I'll wash it. He's like, "Come on, let me wash it." I'm like, "What are you gonna do with that costume? You like the costume. You liked how you looked in the costume. Give me the costume." It was even creepier. So it ended up working against me, but I had a laugh.
I just saw while you were talking a play I had not seen last night, which is Myles Garrett spin moving on a double team and arriving at Burrow before he finished his drop. It's one of the scariest things I've ever seen. It was a double team. And they left a running back into chip, and he just crushed Joe Burrow. It is a great picture, Mike. Your dad should be happy about how he looks in that.
Wow. You're never seeing that again.
Baby. Greg, I have a question for you. So when Christopher was born, like, did Wild Bill come over? Did you go over to Wild Bill's with Chris?
They were living in Vero Beach at the time.
So they came down. They traveled 2 hours to see their grandkids.
They saw you when you were, hours old.
Yeah.
What grandparents do.
On Halloween, they would come down
Well,
hours.
They had to. It was hours away. You can't expect him to go take you 2 hours and 2 hours back by horseback. You missed Halloween at that point. Yeah.
But, I'm not insistent on anyone. I want my house is a welcoming magnet.
Yeah.
Whoever's drawn to it has to be there of their own volition, their own free choice. If Christopher wants to come over for a Sunday meal, we'd love to have him. If he doesn't, do we expect him for Thanksgiving? Yes, but if he's for some reason said no.
What if he has a ham with him?
As long as he tells me in advance. We don't like unannounced, gestures of kindness. They have to be scheduled.
I do find it fairly amazing, though, that Grandpa still makes Halloween about himself. And
Zagacki.
Like you are making it around your house, your thing.
The man has a corner lot.
Your
Dan.
candy.
Yeah, there's a responsibility.
He's got an empty nest.
It's a generational thing, and I think you guys have a hard time letting go. You don't want to hand over Chris the reins because it says something about your own mortality, and I think that you guys are having a difficult time with it. I really do.
Thank you for that instant psychoanalysis. I really appreciate
Dad, no
that.
one's saying don't carve pumpkins. Put your pumpkins up, but then just take a little 20-minute trip over to see your granddaughter.
You had a good run, but
the neighborhood's expecting it. The
now.
neighborhood's expecting this from Greg Cote.
I'm telling you, my dad's building this up.
He's got a corner lot,
Nobody
Chris.
gives a shit about my dad's pumpkin.
No, but there are houses in every neighborhood that are staple houses for Halloween.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
My
the
dad
corner
resents
lots,
those
right.
people. There's a guy in my dad's neighborhood. You drive in, he has so many stuff in front of his yard.
Is there a rivalry?
It is a look at me, Louie situation.
Is there? Hold on. Tell us, Greg. Tell us about this interloper.
He's referring to someone on the next street who's a blatant calendar jumper. On October 1st.
What's a calendar jumper?
A calendar jumper is someone who starts celebrating a holiday
Gets a head start.
grossly prematurely.
Yeah.
What is too early? I've been thinking about this with Christmas trees. What's too early what's a calendar jumper on Christmas tree?
A calendar jumper is if you're doing anything before the month of December dawns, you're a calendar jumper. Don't be that guy.
We still have Thanksgiving. I mean,
right. Take them in order.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, as a kid, the retail stores back when you had retail stores, they would be advertising back to school sales when summer had just begun. You're trying to enjoy your summer, and all of a sudden, Kmart has a back to school sale. It was outrageous. Calendar jumper. But that's a retail store. You know, they're trying to sell stuff. In this case, if your neighbor is putting up Halloween decorations on October 1st, scorn that man.
No, that's not calendar jumping.
That's calendar jumping.
No. Greg, October hits and it's Halloween month, and people are doing this everywhere. My thing is how people just go straight to Christmas now. No.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, Thanksgiving was something we looked forward to.
You respect Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Thanksgiving
Well,
was something that we
people have
looked
problems with
forward
that.
to. You had turkeys. You had handmade turkeys in school where, where you draw your hand and then make a turkey out of that, right?
Right.
And we had like red and brown and yellow. These were the colors. And now I was looking for some last-minute Halloween costumes and stuff at the dollar store the other day, and they had an entire aisle of Christmas decorations.
Yes.
That's calendar
jumpers.
jumping.
I went
That's
on
right.
I went on Sunday to Target, and I was just doing kind of like normal things, and then they had a whole corner section that was for Halloween. And when I went on Sunday, the day before Halloween, it was all Christmas stuff, and they had moved all the Halloween stuff over like 2 aisles, and it was basically just scraps that was left. But tis the season. Home Depot too. If you go out there, all the inflatables are out now.
Exactly.
I saw at Hobby Lobby that they were selling fake Christmas trees 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
I like it.
3 weeks.
That's
when do we
obscene.
put our foot down, ladies and gentlemen?
Right.
When do we say enough is enough with calendar jumping?
Calendar jumping. The only exception is if you try to combine the two calendars. Like last night, I went trick-or-treating as Miles Standish.
Wait.
Nobody had any idea who I was.
Hold on a
The
second.
Thanksgiving icon
Wait.
from Plymouth.
Plymouth.
Yeah.
Plymouth.
The car company?
Miles Standish. Nobody knew who I was. If you have to
Wonder why.
explain a costume,
Then it's a good costume.
You've never felt smaller.
Oh.
He really, he's Miles Standish. And then who's Miles Standish? And then, I had the beautiful Victorian beard pasted on. It was
Mike, do you have
Yeah, cut him off.
He was born in 1584.
Damn
Why
right
would
he was.
anyone know who he is?
Well, history books.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have sound, Mike, of a racist homophobe talking about hand turkeys?
It's very important that I start at the rear first. This tail feather gives me speed and precision. And it's these mid feathers you got to be careful with as you go around your Super Bowl ring, But these middle feathers are the brain of the outfit. And this front feather, that points the direction that this hand turkey goes.
I'll come out and say it. I miss him.
Yeah. I don't know if I can laugh at that anymore.
Still, you got to say still. I miss it.
Still, comma.
I understand he was a racist homophobe. Still, that video of him drawing a hand turkey brings a smile to my face.
We will get to Billy's useless sound montage in a second, but before we do so, you have to enjoy that Jim Harbaugh wants to press charges on the Michigan State kids. That he's summoned the police. Jim Harbaugh has, and the video is disturbing of a Michigan kid without his helmet being beat up by a bunch of Michigan State kids who were wearing all of their uniforms. But the coach coming out and pressing charges, and it being that coach is really wonderful.
It is so Harbaugh, but I was thinking about this on the drive in. Whittingham said yesterday, why are we still doing one tunnel at stadiums? And I saw the video last night. It was really bad.
Yes.
Like those kids really attacked that one Michigan kid in a way that I'm not certain I wouldn't press charges if I were Jim Harbaugh. But why are we still doing that in stadiums where we only have one tunnel? That's a recipe for disaster.
Correct.
You have two teams who don't like each other, very emotional halftime after a game. Why are you letting them enter and exit the same tunnel?
Can't have two tunnels. Too busy paying the buyouts on coaches. Can't afford the tunnel.
The stadium is 95 years old.
I know, but
Tear it down, build a new one.
Yeah, build a tunnel.
Remember we had Coach K on, and I wanted to ask him when are they going to tear down Cameron Indoor Stadium and build a new facility? Why didn't you? Dan wouldn't let me. Really? Yeah, he said no.
Really?
Wow, censorship.
Coach K's gone. Tear it down.
You had to be reverential. Buffalo also has one tunnel, and there was an incident with Stephon Diggs coming out and a fight almost starting on the field, and it actually went throughout the game, and to the point that players had to be separated over there. It's not the first time just this year that there's been an altercation in that tunnel. My favorite part about Jim Harbaugh reading that was how he was struggling through the prepared statement for him, because him trying to find the words is always usually an adventure. and he had to stick to a script this time. And while he was trying to fill in the spaces, I want to say it was kind of it reminded me a little bit about Trump, where you could tell the times that he would go off the script because he would just keep adding adjectives towards it. You could really tell that they stressed this statement, because Jim Harbaugh, anytime he would leave his heads up, he was trying to take the bait, but he realized, got to stay on brand, got to stay on message.
We will get to the Useless Sound Montage in a second, but for some reason, Stugotz has listened for the last couple of days, and I don't know why. Is it just your drive-in? You've decided to do a nostalgic callback to listening to sports radio for an hour.
Well, no, I mean, my drive-in is over an hour, so the last 2 days I have driven in here, and I listen to ESPN radio every morning. It helps me prepare for our show, a little bit, I guess, but I was alarmed by the fact that on both days, probably a combined, I want to say 2 hours and 15 minutes, not a mention of the World Series. You would have no idea that it's going on. Now, I know the game was postponed last night, but Monday you could have spoken about it. There was a game on Sunday night. They were talking Browns and Bengals. No one mentioned the World Series in 2 hours. And I'm not being critical of ESPN or really the host. I'm not certain I would either. But just where baseball has fallen to kind of in the pecking order, when we're at the World Series, this is it. The highest stakes are attached to this. You have Astros, you have Phillies. Those are two major media markets, and not a peep from any of the hosts about the World Series. Nothing.
It's less the World Series and more of a regional series now, where Philadelphia and Houston are certainly fired up about these things. That Philadelphia is, I don't know when the last time Philadelphia felt like a sports town the way that it does right now. Where
undefeated Eagles.
Right. I mean, that town, it loves its sports.
Yes.
And when baseball still hits in a market, it is a euphoria. But it's not a world experience anymore, and I don't think it's a country-wide experience anymore as a viewing pleasure. It's not quite. I won't call it a niche sport, but it has fallen to a place where Alabama, Georgia, or Tennessee, Georgia, will engulf it. And I really don't know, Stugotz, if I can give you the sea change, a better example of how it is that this has changed than the amount of anger from college football people about the Aaron Judge break-ins.
That's a good point.
Where I'm like, God almighty, there is a resistance here. It's not simply that I'm indifferent to your sport. There's a hostility to that sport bringing its historic moments to you, where you're basically saying, if you put this in my backyard, I'm closing the drapes. I don't want to see this. I did not choose this as my menu item. Do not bring it over here. That is not the way I feel about the sport.
It also fell victim to the calendar. It happened over the weekend. It gets eliminated by the pro football cycle. We've seen dramatic college football games get erased just by one Sunday. So when you go 2 days without a game, trust me, people would talk about it'd be a very negative slant to everything. It'd be about Justin Verlander's inability to get it done in the World Series, and that we'd hear that ad nauseum if it just landed on a Tuesday.
Right.
But on a Friday evening, headed into college football, into a whole weekend, by the time Monday rolls around and you don't have another game to talk about, there's no way that's going to be talked about.
So good,
especially when it's Keyshawn and Jay Will like that.
Right.
They're not going to talk about that.
But Mike, it had me thinking, like, is there a matchup in Major League Baseball that still resonates nationally? Like, if the Yankees played the Dodgers, would they be leading with that?
Yankees, Dodgers, absolutely.
Okay.
Right. That was the marquee matchup that MLB needed. What they have is a consolation prize.
But these
of
are
a
great.
matchup.
These are tremendous markets. These are good baseball
These are
towns.
top 5 markets.
People hate the Astros.
Yeah, but that's
America
good.
hates the Astros.
11 million people watch a first game. That's not an SEC football game of the week, but it's still a huge audience.
Right.
By the way, give respect to the Philadelphia Union in the MLS Cup.
Am I wrong, though,
Blue collar
in
workers.
saying
Good
that
point.
Stugotz's measurement here is flawed, that the national morning sports show is less relevant than the World Series, than whatever it is that's being talked about on the, given how fractured all audiences are and how everyone's choosing their own menus on this, is Stugotz using the wrong measurement, expecting a football player, Keyshawn Johnson, a basketball player, Jay Williams, and Max Kellerman to talk about Max loves baseball.
Well,
Max would be talking baseball if it was the Yankees in the World Series.
Well, that's kind of what shocked me is I know how much Max loves that sport, and yet not a single word about it.
Stugotz has a good point. Dan, national programs, forget about that particular one. How many shows do you think are leading with World Series talk around the country?
We're a one-sport country. It's king sport here. The way that all of sports in Europe are niche compared to soccer, that's what it's like here. The second biggest sport in our country is just the minor leagues to get you to the NFL. It is so dominant in the sports stratosphere that when it's going on, it's going to dominate the conversation because every big media partner is doing its job by getting you to watch the next game.
But I think the one exception would have been Dodgers-Yankees. That is the ideal matchup for TV, for MLB, for fans, I think. If it's a Yankees-Dodgers matchup, it's hard not to talk about.
It's not topping Bills-Packers from Sunday night.
It's not leading a Monday morning.
There's a reason why they're not playing on Sunday night.
I think the narrative then, the national narrative, is this is the one matchup that has a chance to compete with College Saturday and NFL Sunday for 7 games. I think that would have been the narrative.
It's crazy to say that you need a controversy. The only way it breaks in is you need something that's scandalous.
That's actually what I was thinking about, like, because obviously I exist in an NBA bubble, but I found the news shows, the shows on ESPN and Fox to talk a lot more NBA, but it's in part because of explosive things that have little to do with just teams playing poorly or teams playing well. It's about those stories that jump across to the other part of the news cycle.
There are very few tributes to football that you can give in terms of coverage that all the other sports, not even excellence is enough to knock off football that's bad.
Right.
Football that's bad. It's not like you got a bunch of games, every weekend that are Carolina, Atlanta. Last night's Monday night game was a stinker to watch.
But it would have drubbed Game 3 in the ratings last night had Game 3 not been rained out.
I mean, the ratings drive the talent that's on these shows, and when you look at the scope of FS1 or certainly ESPN, you have talent on those shows that are really only capable of talking about NFL football and NBA basketball. Watch,
Mike. I've
watch
heard
for the World Cup coverage come November when it's going up against the NFL.
Right.
See if First Take's going to pay attention to the biggest sporting event on the planet. It's not going to happen.
But I've heard Keyshawn talk about the Dodgers. Like, he loved the Dodgers. I've heard him talk about baseball. I have. I've heard them, and I've heard. I know Max loves baseball.
In NFL season, though.
Yeah,
you work there. You know what they regard.
Yeah.
Keyshawn actually is a huge Dodgers fan. I've done radio with him in L.A. where he goes on and on about the Dodgers. I went to the World Series when he was like 8 or whatever in 1981. I still don't believe that story, by the way, Keyshawn.
Wow.
But,
I mean,
look,
him a liar.
World Series tickets, and he's like an 8-year-old, and he rode the bus all the way from South Central Los Angeles. All that. It just seems a little much, I don't know. But
you're calling him a liar.
I'm just saying, it sounds like that story, maybe a little bit stretched there. I'm sure he watched the game. I don't know if he was in the stadium, though. But here's what I want to say. You say it's talent. It's not talent-driven. I can say this from experience. It's the producers. So doing SportsCenter, I've been there many a time when there's a big basketball story and something like pick random NFL player who's not a superstar out this Sunday with an ankle, and they'll bump actual news about something happening in another sport because they want to get to this. And Schefter, what's the latest you're hearing, or whoever they've got just Saturday? What's the latest? What does this do for them this Sunday? He's like, all right, the guy's out for 1 week. Like, relax. The producers, at least I could speak for SportsCenter, but I'm imagining First Take is the same. They dictate oftentimes what goes on. I remember there were specific producers on SportsCenter who were baseball guys. So you knew if this guy was producing this SportsCenter, we were going to get a shit ton of baseball talk because the guy is a big Red Sox fan and the Red Sox were doing well. So I don't think it's talent-driven. I think it's driven by the producers.
Am I the only one who thinks a Yankees-Dodgers World Series is on a whole different level in terms of
it's
demanding
true.
media
It's true,
coverage.
but it's an annoying way to experience this if you're living in any of the other markets that have baseball that matters, that the way that you talk about this is that there's one series I can care about, that is going to dominate my viewing habits. When the baseball is exceptional and you had a bunch of 100-win teams in the playoffs and you're just taking two markets that are big and ignoring that the two markets that are in there are plenty big.
And by the way, the Astros are, you might not like them, and I know a lot of people don't, but a historical team. This is a team that's been to 6 straight championship series, 3 of the last 4 World Series. They've won a couple, and no one pays attention to
You're right, and Bryce Harper's having a phenomenal postseason. I mean, there's a lot for the diehard baseball fan to get into.
On a Tuesday.
Or Wednesday.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Stugotz. The Astros are great. They're hated by people who pay attention to baseball. Ultimately, casuals are what build ratings. And what Greg is saying is right. Yankees-Dodgers brings casuals to the table.
Yes.
But, Greg, it still won't outdo whatever shitty NFL game is going on at the same time.
I totally agree.
Billy, how do you feel about the Useless Sound Montage this week? You have emerged. You're unhappier on Mondays than you are the rest of the time because of what happens to you going into this dungeon. How do you feel about what it is that you have? You're mining for gold. You're like an old, what are those guys called? The people at the 49ers, whatever they were. People who look for gold nuggets.
Yeah, the 49ers play football in San Francisco.
Thank you, Stugotz. I appreciate it.
I'm more of a shit miner, I would say.
Okay, let's get to this shit mining here. How do you feel about this week's batch of shit mining? How many turds
We got
did you
some
unearth?
nuggets.
Okay, we've got some turd nuggets. Let's see what we've got here.
Again, solid as a rock, right on point with the whole day's work.
From my perspective, it's less about what they do and about the things that we're not doing. We're not positioning ourselves to win games. We didn't today, and we got to own that.
I'm not inclined to elaborate on anything like that.
Sometimes the best things that you can say are to say nothing.
Some fundamental things are falling short. We got to keep a lid on it. If you don't keep a lid on it in the NFL, man, you don't give yourself a chance to play. We didn't do that.
He didn't just step up in his words, he stepped up in his actions.
We got to, hit the nail on the head when we give him those pieces of information.
I thought it was a domino effect from there on. I thought our eyes weren't in the right place defensively, and it's capable of happening when you're not keeping a lid on it. You got to keep a lid on it.
That right there is embarrassing, and that should never happen, especially with the group of guys in that locker room.
You feel like the only guys that can stop us is ourselves.
This season could be completely flipped around, and the only way we can flip it around is ourselves. We got to be able to keep answering the bell.
The penalty component of it and our inability to keep a lid on it with Steelers versus Steelers, and when you're playing good people like this group, you're not going to put yourself in position to do the things you need to do.
Terry's that dude. He's got that dog in him. We can all get better, all right, starting with me.
I'd rather be in this position than be on the other side of it.
Garrett, I think, said it was the greatest thing he's ever seen in the locker room after the game, which I thought was a bit of hyperbole, but maybe not.
Adversity is temporary. I've never shied away from pressure. I think that you got to look right at it and just keep going and keep believing and stay the course.
Willing to make that risk for the reward in the situation. That was
willing to try and score points when you're down? Yeah, man, I'm willing to do that. I will sit in there and try and score points when we need to score points. I will accept that.
Position is just a component of playmaking.
There's still so much season left, and we gotta keep our heads up, and we gotta keep going to work, and that can't change.
How would you describe your chemistry with Zach on the field?
Probably, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. I don't get the ball. I don't know.
We didn't keep a lid on it today, guys, man. You give up 3 of those type balls in the first half, man, it's going to be helter-skelter, and that's just the reality of it.
Jalen's just the type of guy that's going to continue to get better because, the type of person he is, the type of football IQ he has, the type of football character he has, the toughness that he has, how much he loves football.
There's always something, and enough is never enough. And we just strive for that. We strive for something that we may never get, but we continue to go chase it.
We tried to do what we felt like gave us the best chance to win the football game, and that's going to change each and every week.
We're going to build plans to win games on the weekends that we play, I promise you.
The hard thing is to just
keep doing your job, and staying in the thick of the storm. And the easy thing is to go down below and get under the blanket and eat all the food and whatever. It's the guys who are going to stay on the deck and just continue to do their part because they know the sun's coming. Those are the guys we're looking for.
The sun is not coming for Dan Campbell. That ship be sinking.
How does he have a job still? I mean, I love Dan Campbell. I really do. But he is 4-19 as the head coach of the Lions.
They miss Jim Campbell.
He must interview great, Caldwell Fine. He must
Of course
interview
he
great,
does. What do you
right?
mean? Of course he does. He goes in there and he's like, there's a ship, and I'm not in the blankets eating the food. I'm on the front of the ship going 4-19.
Caldwell.
Do you think that it's that he interviews great, or he just has the people on the other side of the desk terrified to tell him he didn't get the job?
He's biting their kneecap
No
during
one
the
wants
interview.
to fire him.
I do believe that Dan Campbell does his interviews with his fists on the desk, apart, like with his shoulders hunched over, sort of
Yes.
silverback gorilla,
Yep.
threatening the Ford family.
Shirtless.
It's the damnedest thing because forget the results. I still kind of believe that he can do this, and I don't know why.
That's his gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
You do know why, though. He just gives good coach. He just speaks into a microphone
in
well,
him.
as he cares deeply.
But I'm just thinking, like, Eric Bieniemy, the poor guy, can't get a job. Dan Campbell's 4-19 and keeps his job.
That is correct.
Okay.
4-19 get you fired now at Auburn. In that time frame.
Dan, it gets you fired anywhere. I mean, seriously. 4-19.
But what are you confused about? We've been
that he has a job.
But we've been making fun of Man Campbell and his biting of the kneecap since we were introduced to him. The first press conference, we're like, wow, this guy's amazing. And then they won their first game. And we're like, they are riding on the fuel of this guy's tough talk.
That's right. He's the future.
And then when Detroit hired him, we're like, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? We saw that. It's just bluster and thick of storm, and I'm not going to go under the blankets, and I'm not going to eat the food, and I'm going to chug coffee, and I'm going to go 4-19, and I'm going to drink more coffee and have more coffee than the other coaches. And you'll wait a while. He'll get rehired again by somebody else.
There's no way.
5 years from now.
No way.
Who needs a tough talking coach?
During his, Witty just informed me that during his stint as interim Dolphins coach, he had more wins than he does his entire time in Detroit. I hear what you're saying. But year over year, they just seem so much better. You can bet on them now, you know? And I feel like if he takes just the same amount of leap year over year, we're looking at a Super Bowl team in at least 15 years.
I mean, they lose close. They score a lot.
They are better.
I mean, you look at their roster, and it's just like, what do you want him to do? Now, granted, he had a hand in that. They actually saw Goff last year, and they were like, let's run it back.
Well, their offense is good.
Their offense has improved.
Yeah.
But they did make the decision to give Jared Goff a lot of money.
They've also been hurt. I mean, you got to get hurt when you're chewing other people's kneecaps off.
Their schedule hasn't been that easy also, right? They lost to the Eagles by 3.
This is what happens.
They
This
lost
is
to
what
the
I'm
Vikings
saying.
by 4. They lost to the Seahawks by 3.
Right.
They got blown out by the Patriots. They beat the Commies. They lost to the Cowboys. They lost to the Dolphins.
But we make excuses for this man because we love this man. I mean, that's his gift. I guess that's why he still has a
We're
job.
just looking for them to fight and get better, and they have.
Yeah, they're fighting.
I don't think there are a lot of people making excuses for Dan Campbell's 4-19. I just think we like hearing Dan Campbell talk. He sounds and looks like a football coach. He looks like football. He seems to care deeply. No one disputes how much he cares. Unfortunately, the job isn't to care. They all care.
He'd be the greatest coach in NFL history.
He'd be tied with many others for caring.
Speaking of greatest head coach of all time, I heard Pete Carroll in that montage. I was watching Monday Night Football yesterday, and Chris Berman casually referred to Pete Carroll as tying his mentor, Bud Grant, in the all-time wins list. I was like, hold on. Pete Carroll is from the Bud Grant coaching tree?
That mother bleep is old.
Yeah, he is.
Like, Pete Carroll is old.
Good looking for his age, though, I'll tell you that.
I think
Wow.
every coach is from the Bud Grant coaching tree. I'm serious. Like, Bud Grant has touched
It's like
every
the tree of
coach in
life.
some way.
It's like we're all descendants of Adam.
Yeah.
He's the original bud that grew into a tree where all the coaches ended up being born. I'm okay with that as the I imagine him as the original coach. There was no one before Bud. Pete Carroll's 70, is he not?
71. Oldest coach in the league.
And God said, let there be Bud.
Yeah.
You can argue it's the greatest coaching job of Pete Carroll's career.
Yeah.
Oh, easily.
Absolutely.
Oh, for the love of God.
No, I agree.
You're always there for me with this.
Do you realize that
100%.
that is a trick? That you, Lord Stugotz, easily is there.
I looked up at him. I was like, I've never been so attracted
in the
to him.
world. Anybody, he just
Coach
loves
the greatest
that
college team of all time,
conversation.
arguably.
Stugotz didn't hear a single word other than the greatest of his career, and instantly he didn't. It was like a Manchurian candidate. He said easily.
That's right.
Easily.
didn't
He's
want
won a
us to
Super
just
Bowl in
sit there.
college and in pro, but no. The year he's around 500 with Geno Smith,
Damn right.
easily.
Yes.
He's made Geno Smith an MVP.
Yep.
This is what happens with Stugotz, and I am still forever curious about its many permutations, the Stugotz. But if anyone anywhere in the world is having the argument that doesn't make him have to take any inventory of anything that came before it,
I'm there for it.
and it can just be 8 games, and you're saying that this is the best coaching job of Pete Carroll's career, he doesn't want you to be alone with that. He wants that to himself, so he says, oh, easily. Because he wants to be in and a part of, he gets FOMO about the fact that someone else is having the opinion that it might be the best coaching job of X's career.
Well, I don't think you can attribute Geno Smith's success to him. In fact, Tyler Lockett went as far as to say it's amazing the things that we can accomplish when the quarterback's not trying to take credit for it or something to that effect.
Whoa.
I think the one thing that's quantifiable.
I don't think that's the way that he said that.
Addition by subtraction.
It wasn't quite that direct. It wasn't.
Well, he
when
didn't say the quarterback. It was like, come on, no. He was talking about Russ.
It was implied.
Wasn't quite that correct.
It was certainly
that direct.
implied.
It was implied.
But one thing that's quantifiable about Pete Carroll is he has this irrefutable track record when it comes to coaching up cornerbacks. He can turn low draft picks into great corners. Look what he's doing in Seattle this year. He has one of the great young corners in the game that was, once again, a low draft. He has Michael Jackson from the University of Miami that was on that turnover chain team in 2017. Has been bouncing around practice squads in and out of the league. It's amazing what he does with corners.
While we're on the topic of Seattle, it's 8 games in. Witty, Geno Smith, 1,900 yards passing and 13 touchdowns. So ahead of pace for 3,000 yards and slightly behind pace for 30 touchdowns. Are you starting to sweat, Witty?
That's right. What was the wager that we had? I had to do the show in a bathtub, I think is what we agreed on.
What is the wager?
Shit.
What's the wager?
The wager is you have to do the show naked. Now, apparently a bathtub was added later. I don't remember this.
If what, though?
If Geno throws for 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, which I sat in that very chair and said he's going to do. I said it. You can look up the tape. You can hear it back. I said it, and everyone laughed. Ha ha, Amin, the basketball guy. Stick to basketball. Shut up and dribble. That's what they said. That's what they said.
Wow. That's a bad bet by Witty because 3,000 yards divided by 17 games is not that much.
I do think it was unfair what I did to Tyler Lockett because a lot of people.
You think it
ran
was
with that.
unfair?
No. The quote was, "It's amazing."
It was close to that.
Here's the actual quote: "It's amazing what we can accomplish when no one cares about who gets the credit."
Right.
Everybody ran with that's directed at Russ. Tyler Lockett retweeted that comment. Someone aggregating him, and he said, "People need to stop reaching. I've said this quote 5 to 10 times since I've been in the league. Stop looking for a story and just let us enjoy our team." And the full quote that goes on after he says that credit line, he says, "It's like my high school coach always used to say." So not a direct shot at Russell Wilson.
I mean, no, hold on. Really? Tyler Lockett, come on. I was born at night. I wasn't born last night. Right? I know what you're doing there.
Why, wow?
Yeah, because I wasn't born last night.
Yeah,
it's
you got
a
him.
saying, Dan.
Wasn't born yesterday.
We quickly changed subjects, though. So Witty's going to be doing a show naked or in a bathtub.
Yeah.
Is the result of this?
Well, I mean, Geno's got to keep it up.
You are now actively rooting for Geno to be injured, correct? Because he's going to keep it up, is he not? The 30 touchdowns is going to be tough, though, is it not?
Yeah, that'll be tough.
He's at 13 right now.
Yeah.
And he's got 9 more
games.
games.
But 3,000 yards, there's going to be 15 quarterbacks who throw for 3,000 yards. It's not what it used to be. It's like a 1,000-yard rusher now.
Yeah,
It's
but
nothing.
saying Geno Smith will do it when he hasn't done anything
It seemed
in a
like
decade.
a safe bet for Whittingham to make.
I want for Geno to be going into week 17 with like 24 touchdowns, and for Witty to be like, woo, it was touch and go there, but we should be good. And then he throws for 7 touchdowns, or even better, he throws for 4 touchdowns in the first half, and then to watch the second half with Witty, just he's in there.
Are we going to bring a bathtub in here? What are the human resource calamities that we are embarking on? A nude Witty.
They won't allow that. No
I thought he was just gonna like zoom in from his place. Wait, do you have a bathtub, Witty, or are you? Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know it was a
I
walk-in
do have
shower.
bathtub. Yes.
I'm surprised by that.
How often are we using it?
When I need a day, where I'm sort of like it's relaxed time. I'd say like once every 8 weeks. It's like, God, I need to relax. I need to turn my brain off.
Yeah.
Treat myself.
But you're not short, so are your feet like coming out if you're laying?
It's a bent knee situation.
So the knees are up, so you can never get fully like submerged.
Yeah, fully submerged.
Now, Witty,
Is it a bubble bath? I'm just curious.
How
do you bath bomb?
What distinguishes a bubble
My
bath
daughter
from a
loves
bath?
bath bombs.
Yeah.
I have not bath bombed.
You've never been to Lush?
No.
Wow.
Witty, do you light candles?
No.
Do you have a nice glass of
He puts
wine?
on like Zach Lowe.
Yeah, I was saying. I was building to that.
Evan McPherson? The GOAT? He's a kicker. I mean, Tom Brady's bed's still warm. Tom Brady just left. You're the greatest of all. You're the greatest of all. He's beautiful in every way. It's out of control.
He throws the ball most accurately and won 7 rings.
So good at backing, he's meant to outdecade teams.
A 6th-round draft pick with a chip on his shoulder and a dimple on his chin.